Let's work. Turn it down and listen to the experts. Gotta give a shout to the Talking Junk Network. Showing love, hosting battles, playing dope joints. The break room topics always staying on point. Never disappoint. We'll never need a makeover. We here for the takeover like Jehovah. Talking Junk break room takeover on the podcast. Dropping bomb facts on demand like Comcast. Now drop a comment whenever they're going live. Hit the YouTube channel right now and go subscribe. Peace.
Talking Junk Network,
where entertainment lives.
Welcome to Talking Junk.
I'm your host, Jason Melendez.
Live now every week.
Talking Junk.
A multitude of professionals in different aspects, different walks of life.
You have to come on and talk junk like a normal person.
Let me tell you guys about these new Dizzle edibles. Now, I know you probably heard of the drink, and just like the drink, these edibles are the truth. I'm typically a smoker, and I usually like to do it before I drive to take some of the angst off this LA traffic. But with these edibles, I don't even think about rolling up. I don't have to worry about the aroma when I get out of the car, my eyes being red. I just pop in one and I'm good to go. I'm feeling happy and ready to just take on my day. Each edible comes with 25 milligrams. You get 10 in a package, which is more than enough because, again, all you need is one and it'll get you right.
It's time for all things cereal, games with cereal. We try cereal and we let you know. So if you love cereal, we love cereal. Super cereal.
We're giving away 1,000 bottles of syrup. If you go to the syrup store at syrup.com and put in the discount code free bottles TikTok, then you can receive a free bottle of syrup. Just pay for shipping. Very easy. We're going to do the first 1,000 bottles.
Welcome to Talking Junk, the podcast that comes to you live every Friday night with great guests, great conversations, mind-blowing topics, and sometimes the journey, not sometimes, not even most of the time, all of the time, the stories in the journey. And that's exactly what you want to hear every Friday right here. And speaking of the journey, our journey's been slow climbing, and it's still, no matter how many times I play that intro, it's hard for me to get in my head that the guy freestyling in the beginning, the legendary Sam I Am, the MC, Mr. Legendary Battle Rapper, I'd watched him growing up on TV, on 106 in Park, and he's on the intro now. So it goes to show you, just work. Put that work in, and you can get whatever you need. Tonight, we have a great guest for you. Like every Friday night, this is exactly what you need. A great conversation. And tonight is going to be a great conversation. We have the New Orleans psychic medium. She's been featured on the Today Show, A&E, Discovery Plus, Biography, and Travel Channel. She's been on local and national TV and newsprints. Like I said, she's recognized as New Orleans' most accomplished psychic medium. She's a third-generation spiritual practitioner, making very fertile ground for her own abilities to develop. So, without further ado, Miss Cari Roy, how you doing tonight?
I'm wonderful, Jason. How are you making out?
It's a Friday night. It's very busy for me every Friday, but we get through it. Glad to have you on.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. Greetings from New Orleans.
How is it out there right now? How's the weather?
It's starting to get cool, so we're happy about that. We've been in the hundreds for the whole summer with not a drop of rain, and so we're really happy that we're finally getting some cool, and then we'll get some rain. It's been a little trippy.
Well, we're over here in Florida, so we wish you guys would have got some of the rain we got to get
Oh
off our
goodness.
hands.
Yeah. We have similar patterns, but this summer's been crazy.
Yeah. The heat over here has been pretty intense too, but I gather it's not as intense as New Orleans.
Well, we're always about 100% humidity, so it just really becomes pretty oppressive. But you get used to it, and you just do everything a little slower.
Right. Now, you are New Orleans' top leading psychic medium. I can only imagine the road it took to get there.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
What would you like to take us through the steps that you took to get to where you are? Maybe from beginning to end. How did your abilities manifest? Did you know early on what you were, or did it kind of
Yeah.
gradually hit you?
I was very fortunate in that I grew up in a family where this was accepted. And so when I was young, about 7 is when I started showing my abilities. But my mother was a psychic medium. My grandfather was an astrologer and a numerologist. And so they kind of knew what was going on with me. And so my mother really trained me from an early age to be able to handle what was happening. I didn't initially go out to do this professionally. I started out in the music business. I'm a little old at this point, but I started out in the music business in the 1970s. And by the mid 80s, I had been fairly successful with that. And there was a woman that was booking my band, and she and I became friends, and she knew that I understood about tarot cards and palm reading and astrology and all of that other stuff. And so she asked me if I could do that professionally, and I said, yeah, sure, why not? I was young, and so it was for Renaissance fairs. And they were looking for somebody to come into a Renaissance fair and kind of set up a little gypsy kind of camp to fit with that, and
Right.
have people offering. Yeah, the
Cool.
gypsy theme. And so that's how I started. And then I started working at events, doing readings for events. I started working at shops in the French Quarter where they offered readings. And then I did that for about 20 years, and then went out on my own, and have been on my own now for about 20 years. And so it's been a process. It definitely has been about a 40-year process.
Wow. So what I know, did you get any type of pullback when you started? Did you know this was exactly what you wanted to do, or was it something that you kind of wanted to shy away from, seeing as it's been in your family for so long?
I did kind of shy away from it to start with. That's why I didn't really actively pursue it until it started to seem to pursue me. When I kind of got the opportunities for it, I thought to myself, wow, this is what I'm supposed to do. And so I made the transition from the music business into doing this full time. And I did both for a little bit, but it really didn't. Working at night in clubs, and then waking up in the morning and going to readings for people, and dealing with things that can be quite serious. It didn't really add up. So I had to walk away from the music stuff. And again, these opportunities to do readings just kept coming at me. And so I really used my intuition to recognize that that was the path that I should be on. So,
Excuse me. Now,
okay.
that must have been a hard thing, because once you're in the music business, it's kind of hard to get out. And you said you were doing fairly well. But when you knew it was your calling, was it like a big event that happened, or was it just you knowing from waking up early to do these readings and not having your full power to ward off half the evil that's probably gonna surround you while you're doing this. Was it just that situation that kind of won it over, or was it a bigger event?
It was pretty much just doing something and being good at it. I was good as a singer, but the lifestyle that I would have had to continue on, it really probably wouldn't have been the right path for me. And so it was kind of a gradual knowing that this was really what was meant for me. And there's an old saying about following your bliss. And it's that if you follow your bliss, the doors will open for you and things will happen. And so the doors were really opening for me. And so I just walked through it and made that decision just to dedicate my life to doing this.
Okay. So when you once you started in the Renaissance Fair, when did you know that it was time for you to branch off on your own?
Oh, that lasted about a summer. And then I started working at different conventions. We have a lot of conventions and conferences in New Orleans, and having tarot card readers and palm readers and stuff like that were very popular to have. They still are very popular to have in conventions. And so I started doing those a lot. And then just the shops in the French Quarter. Back then, there was really one place that was the place in the city. And I worked for them for a number of years. And then it just, I guess with any other profession, you kind of know when it's your time to go. And I went out on my own actually right before Katrina. And so it was an interesting journey after that. I'm trying to kind of establish myself as being on my own in the business world. And that was a process all its own too.
Now, were you touring with your mother, or did your mother have an established business at the time?
She did establish stuff. Back then, most women did them out of their homes.
Okay. Now, what was the reasoning behind going out on your own and not kind of joining in on the family business?
Well, it was something that I felt was really, I was doing things a little differently. I stopped using tarot cards. I just started reading without using tarot cards at all. I'm just at this point, and have been for about the last 20 years, a pure psychic. And so it was just, everybody wants to kind of go do their thing. And also my mother had passed, my grandfather had passed, so it really wasn't there anymore.
Okay. Was it something that you did when it was there?
With
did you
them?
guys ever work together? Yeah.
We didn't really do that much together because she passed when I was in my teens. So it really wasn't, it really wasn't there yet. But I think I work with my mother in a way in spirit form all the time. So yeah, I'm still very connected to her now. So.
Okay, so now you're off on your own. It's you said it's right before Katrina. So
yeah.
did you get a brick and mortar place, or did you do it out your house? Traditionally,
originally I started doing it out of my house too, because I thought that was the way to do it. And then I did it for a little while, and then finally branched out. And I have offices in an area called the Central Business District here. I'm not actually in the French Quarter because the French Quarter got a little crazy. It's a great place to party. I mean, there's no place more fun than the Quarter to party. But doing a business there, I actually moved it just about a block out of the French Quarter into what's the Central Business District.
Okay. Now, is it hard? Because I know it's harder. It's hard now just to convince people with tarot cards that you're legit. Is it harder to do it without tarot cards? Is it harder to convince them without that?
Well, it's a little different. I think it takes people a little off guard because they're so used to it being tarot cards. Once we start to get into it, though, all resistance kind of moves aside, and they understand that what I'm doing is really just connecting with their energy. And so tarot cards do the same thing. I just didn't need them anymore.
Okay. So, what are some of the things that you offer for people?
Well, I'm a psychic. So a psychic really looks into the future, looks into present situations, relationships, career, family, all things like that. And you kind of look to see what opportunities are coming, what are aspects of relationships and dynamics of relationships that the person might not be seeing. You're looking at things with an objective eye. And so that's kind of a psychic reading. A medium reading is more just connecting with people who have left this world. So people who are grieving often will come to me because they're looking for that connection, for that sense of peace that the person that they loved who passed away is still close around them. So those are two distinct different types. And then I also do past life readings, and I'm also an astrologer. So I really offer about 4 different types of readings.
Wow. Well, and is it sort of the same way to read these energies, or is it a different process for you to get into these different topics?
Well, it's actually about the same energy. Not every psychic is a medium, and not every medium is a psychic. I just happen to be both. My mother was both. And so when I was coming up, she kind of instructed me on both ways of doing things. But it's not really, I would say it's not completely different. It's just what people are seeking is different. The method of getting there is pretty much the same.
Okay. Now, is it something? Did your mother know right off the bat that you were like her, or was it something that you had to come out and say?
It's something that actually occurred. My mother and I were in the quarter. We were on Royal Street, which is a street down here that it's a beautiful street. And it was in the middle of the summer. Nobody was really back then. The city was always kind of quiet in the summer times. And I was walking down the street with my mother, and there was nobody on the streets. And then all of a sudden, I saw hundreds of people on the streets. And it overwhelmed me so much that I fainted. And when I was coming to, I was asking my mother where the people went. And so she just started asking me some questions and was able to ascertain what I was talking about.
Wow. Now, when people think of psychic in the future, they kind of tend to gravitate straight towards pop culture, and they think of things like That's So Raven, flashes, and stuff like that. How does
Yeah.
how does your process with reading the future go?
Well, to me, it's like knowing something already. It's like reading a book that you've already read before. It's like you have a certain remembrance. It almost feels like you're remembering something. It's like, oh yeah, that's what's going to happen. So it's like all of a sudden you get this knowledge. And you can see things that haven't happened yet. I don't know how best else to describe it. It's almost like the information just comes to you.
Is Do you ever dream the future?
Yes, yes, yes. I dreamt about Katrina a lot before it happened. I dreamt recently, a couple of years ago, about Ida. When I dream the future, it tends to be global events. It tends to be bigger events. I've dreamt about active shooter situations. I've dreamt about plane disasters. I've dreamt about things that don't necessarily affect me personally, but they well, Katrina affected me personally, Ida affected me personally, but they're bigger events. They're usually events that affect a lot of people.
Right. Right. Well, if you have my information. If anything, you see anything for Florida, you let me know.
I will let you know. I definitely will. I surely will. It's always good to have a psychic in your back pocket. It really comes in handy.
Now, is there any stories from your past or present that you may be able to share with us that kind of stand out from things that you've done or things that you've seen?
Sure, sure. There are a lot of them. I mean, for different reasons. As a psychic medium, you get to see a lot of sad things in life, and so I've seen increases in like drug overdoses. That's something that I've seen an incredible increase in over the years. It's scary because I probably get like one or two a day of people who have had loved ones that are dying of drug overdoses. It's just an epidemic. And I guess I see that maybe in a different way than other people would because I'm just seeing it with such regularity. One of the saddest things that I've ever seen was a woman she had 5 children and 4 of them died of drug overdoses. 4 of them died of drug overdoses. It's so sad. That's really the hard parts. I get all sorts of different things. One of the craziest things that happened is that this was back when I was doing readings out of my home. And it was right when I went out on my own and I had a front porch. And so somebody was scheduled to come and see me. And I get a knock on the door. I open the door and there's an entire gang standing on my front porch, like all, hanging on my porch.
Wow.
And I said, I asked the person, who was the name of the guy that was scheduled for the appointment. And I said, you can come in and all y'all need to leave, and so the guy came in and the other guys, they were very hesitant to leave, but it is the South. And so they were kind of polite about it, but they didn't really want to leave the guy there by himself. But the guy came in and what they were trying to find out is who had killed a friend of theirs so that they could retaliate.
Mm.
And so that was a heavy, heavy one because in about 30 minutes, I had to convince this young man not to, take another life so that his life was going to be over too,
Right.
It was heavy. It was really heavy. And so within about, 15 minutes, I had the guy agreeing with me that, he wasn't going to go and kill the person that I knew had killed their friend, their gang brother,
Wow.
That was pretty heavy. That was very heavy.
Yeah, that sounds really heavy. That's something that you don't want on your conscience either.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely wouldn't want to, but that occurred one other time, a very similar situation where somebody came to me to find out who had killed somebody so that they could retaliate. Only the second time it happened, the guy didn't come with a whole gang. He just came by himself. So,
have you ever found somebody that was maybe missing?
I've found bodies before in my life. I recently had a situation where a young woman came into my office and I started doing a reading on her. And, I asked her if her mother had passed because I was feeling her mother around her. And she said yes. And the reading went on for a little bit. And then I was feeling something really strange. And she admitted to me that she was the daughter of a woman who I had found the body, and the person who had killed her. And she was just too young when I was working with the family and the police back then. So she wanted to come to me as an adult, and she came to see me about 15 years after I had worked on that criminal investigation. She was now a woman at about 30 years old. When her mother had gone missing, she was only about 14. So it was a pretty amazing experience to reconnect with this woman whose mother I had unfortunately had to be the bearer of bad tidings and tell the family that I felt that the mother was dead. And they subsequently found the body. And then the person that I had suggested as the person who had committed the crime ended up killing himself very shortly thereafter. So it ended up resolving itself, but it was really amazing to be with this young woman so many years after I had worked on the case with her mother.
Yeah, you guys were kind of like fated to go through that together.
Yeah.
Have you ever walked by somebody and just seen their future, or maybe had a loved one yelling towards you to get a message to them just by a book?
Yeah, I don't have that happen with as much regularity as you would assume. It's something that they do a lot on the TV shows with mediums, where the medium is kind of walking down the street and just sees somebody and runs over and tells them that. In real life, it really isn't that intrusive. It happens every once in a while, but when you've been doing it as long as I have, you really have to be able to turn it on and off or you would go crazy.
Right.
My mother was very good about that with me. She was like, little girl, we're going to teach you how to turn this off before we really teach you how to navigate it and turn it back on. And so she did me a favor. I think that the people that just get bombarded with it all the time, it would make them crazy. I know it would make me crazy if it happened all the time. And I think in the TV shows, as much as I love them and as they're wonderful, they are staged somewhat, you know. So it's something that is a real good thing to see on TV. It makes for great TV. And I've done TV episodes where they've taken me out on the street, local news, and I've read people on the street. But when I'm just going to the grocery, doing my business, I don't really want people coming at me because I've got to live too. You know, if it was 24/7, it would get too much.
Right. Right. I would imagine sensory overload to the max.
Yeah.
Now, during the pandemic, I know it was really hard for anybody to have face to face contact. With your abilities, is it something that you're able to do remotely?
I am able to do remotely. I've been doing phone readings since like the 1980s. So it's something that I've done for a while.
You
Yeah,
was the
I've been
first
doing
Miss
it.
Cleo.
Pardon?
You was the first Miss Cleo.
I was actually. I was. I never worked for the phone companies, like the phone services that did the readings, like Dionne Warwick and stuff like that. But some of the shops that I worked in offered phone readings, so you had to be able to learn how to do those. And as far as phone readings are concerned, I can do that without having to be present with somebody. I don't know how people do it, like chat readings and email readings. That I can't do, but I can do phone readings. So
Now, is that something that you offer on your website?
yes, I offer phone readings through my website, as well as in-person readings. Yes, both. Yep.
The just in case you guys are wondering, the website is neworleanspsychic.com. And it's a lovely website. I browsed it just before the show, just before Cari came on. So you want to go ahead and go on here and take a look at it, subscribe, get the whole email list. But you want to go here to contact. This is where the meat is. This is what you need. Right here will give you everything you need to know. Click on it, fill your name, your email, your phone, a little short message if you are implied to do so, obliged to do so. But definitely visit this site because everybody can benefit from a reading. Everybody. Now, how long do the readings usually go? Do they vary with psychic and medium readings, or are they kind of the same time?
They're about the same time, either a half-hour reading or an hour reading. I give people the choice. Not everybody has a lot of stuff to cover. Some people have a whole hour's worth. Some people only have a half hour's worth. With astrology readings, they're an hour because they're just really in depth. So for an astrology reading, the minimum is an hour. But for psychic and medium readings, a half hour or an hour is pretty standard with those.
And past life?
Past life, about the same, about a half hour actually for a past life. Yep.
Have you ever seen something crazy in somebody's past life before? Maybe something
gosh.
notable?
I've seen the way that people have died that have given them phobias. Some people, we may have a fear of the water, or we may have the fear of heights, or we may have the fear of, other phobias that go directly to a past life. I had a past life. This is the craziest one that ever happened with me. Is that I was actually sacrificed. I was part of a Polynesian community where they did sacrifices to the gods of the water and gods of the sharks and things like that. And that was the way that I went in a past life. That was kind of weird for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, is this something that you do to yourself? Do you read your own future?
I tend not to, but because one of the key ingredients for readings is objectivity. And when you're in the situation, it's very hard to see clearly. That being said, I do have things that come to me even when I'm off and when I'm not thinking about it, that is just, I call them like breakthrough insights, breakthrough flashes of information. Where it's like, oh, I know this is going to happen. I know this is going to happen. And it is a lot like the visions that you see on TV, where you're just standing there and all of a sudden you're overcome by a vision of something. So that part of it is pretty accurate.
Okay, that's good to know. Because oftentimes Hollywood gets it wrong. So that's very good to know that at least they got the whole premise of it. Excuse me. When you do these readings, how draining is it? Do you have to take big breaks in between sessions, or do you do multiple sessions in a day?
I do multiple sessions in a day. Again, I've been doing it for a long time, so I know how to manage my energy. But I would say 5 readings a day would be tops, because anything over that, I don't think that I would be giving my best self to the client. So I do cap it at a certain point. I know that there are readers out there, and back when I was working in the shop, sometimes you'd have to do like 15 readings a day. And doing events, you could do back to back easily 30 readings at an event. But they're little readings. At events, they're like 5-10 minute readings. But for what I do, the half hour or the hour readings, I cap it at about 5. And it is draining when I'm done. It's not draining when I'm doing them. When I'm doing them, it actually energizes me. But when I'm done for the day, I don't really want to talk to anybody else, because I've been talking for 5-6 hours at that point. So it's the same thing probably with you, because you're a host and you do a lot of the talking, that when you're done hosting something, you probably don't necessarily want to keep hosting something,
Well, you would think so, but I am a glutton for punishment, which is why, cheap plug, stay tuned for the break room right after talking junk. I like this. I enjoy it. It's something that I can't explain. It's not physical. It's more of a feeling. Like maybe I'm supposed to be doing something like this, but really my passion would be for voiceovers, which was why I'm starting to try to take a little bit of training for that.
Oh, wonderful. I think you'll be wonderful at that, Jason. I think that you definitely have the ability. You have a very soothing voice, a lot of range and depth in your voice. I really feel like you'll be very successful at that.
Why, thank you, Cari. I appreciate that.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
Now, I know you're a very busy woman. You probably had a very long day. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. Is there any advice that you can give to people that may be seeing the future and not knowing what they're seeing, or maybe people who are seeing spirits who have passed and don't know why they're seeing them?
Yeah, I mean, it's all good. It is all good. This is supposed to be, this gift is really, they call it the gift for a reason, because it truly is a blessing. And that for people that are having little flashes of insight and connecting with spirit, that's all a wonderful thing to have happen. It can feel a little overwhelming when it's first starting, but remember that you can set boundaries with the world of spirit the same way that you set a boundary with a friend or a family member. You can do that with the world of spirit. And one of the differences between intuition and just fear and other stuff that happens is that in real intuitive insights don't have much emotion connected to them. It's really like something. Getting an intuitive insight about something is like knowing how tall you are. It's just a piece of information that you have. When it's fear and when it's just worry, there's a lot of anxiety that comes to that. There's a lot of anxiety that comes along with the insights that you're having about the future that are just coming from worry. When it's real intuition, there's a sense of calm that accompanies that. And so really trust yourself. My real piece of advice to anybody that has this is that we all really have insights. We're all intuitive. You're intuitive. I'm intuitive. The only difference between me and somebody else is that I've just been using that every day for over 40 years, but everybody really has that, and everybody should listen to it.
Right. One more thing before I give you the floor and let you give everybody your mission statement. Would it be possible to have a short future reading?
For you, well, yeah, I think that you're really going gangbusters with this stuff that you're doing, Jason. I really feel like you are somebody who is a communicator. That's your energy. That is your essence. You're very insightful. You're very, what you're doing with the broadcasting here is really touching a lot of hearts. So you are getting out there and people are really paying attention to you. So I think that this, doing the podcasts and all of this, I really feel like you're coming into your own with this. You really are. And I see a lot of more, sponsors, other people taking interest in this. I really feel like you've got something going here that's really strong. And so that's something that you have to keep up with. And it should be, doing voiceovers and stuff like that. Anything that allows you to communicate with passion is really meant for you. The same way that for me, being a psychic medium was the path that the universe had created for me. And it gave me hints that this was the right thing to do. I feel like it's doing that for you with what you're doing here and what you're doing with these podcasts. I really feel like the universe is saying to you, this is your bliss. This is your passion. And if you keep following it, the doors are going to open. Now, one thing I see with this too is that I know that you're based in Florida, but I do get you like reaching a vast audience. I think you've got people that you're reaching all over the place. And so I feel like it's something that you could even travel with later. I don't know why I keep seeing this, but I keep seeing you traveling to different places too, not just reaching them through the podcast, but actually physically going to different places and maybe doing remote podcasts in other places too. But I feel like this is something that is meant for you, Jason, and you have to be true to it. You have to follow your bliss.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That was kind of what I was hoping for. So thank you. Now,
Well,
I know.
yeah.
What was that?
I said, you're so welcome. I mean, that's the truth.
Thank you. Now, the floor is all yours. Let everybody know where they can find you, where they can see you in person, where they can book. I know we just said everything is on the website, but I want to give you the time to promote yourself and give the people a piece of Miss Cari Roy.
Oh, well, thank you so much for that opportunity. I am New Orleans psychic medium Cari Roy, and I'm based here in New Orleans. And I really just love to connect with people from all over the world. I have clients in Dubai. I have clients in Dallas. I've got clients in Florida. I've got clients all over the world. And you can find me through my website, neworleanspsychic.com. You can give us a call or send us a text or send us an email, and my client coordinators will be happy to assist with any questions that you have. It really is my joy and honor to connect with everybody. I feel very blessed to be able to do that. And so just, call, text, email, and either Marilyn or Gracie will be happy to help you get scheduled and answer any questions. But I just love what I do. I think I'm so lucky to be able to do what I love and to have opportunities to connect with great people like you too, Jason. I can't hear. Sorry. There we
We
go.
go. I
There
muted
we
my
go.
mic so you didn't hear my background noise when you were going, and
Yeah, thanks.
And what I was saying was, the pleasure was all mine. You were such a joy to have. Thank you very much for
Oh,
coming on, and I hope to have you on again, either on another Talking Junk or maybe on my later podcast, which is coming on right after this. We have a bunch of people on there, and maybe we can even have callers call in.
oh, that would be lovely. Yes, let's definitely make it a do it twice. Yay.
Perfect. I'll be sure to email you, and we'll get something going. Well, thank you very
Great.
much, Cari.
Oh, thank you, Jason.
I'll be right back with you. Let me just close this out.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. There you have it. I told you, another wonderful guest. Every week, we're going to have a guest for you to have some type of knowledge, some type of insight into whatever you're into. Maybe this conversation is not your thing. Maybe you're not into psychic and psychic mediums. Maybe you don't buy into anything, which that's on you. You know what I mean? You don't invite that. You don't have an open mind. That's totally up to you. But maybe the next episode is for you. Or maybe the one before this one was for you. Because we're just here. And we're going to stay here talking junk. But before I close out on this episode, I do got the guys in the break room waiting for me, so I got to get back there. But next week's episode is the last episode that I'm going to be doing in the month of October. You thought I was going to say forever? Never forever. Just the month of October. Because I was selected to be a host of a documentary for a childhood I'm getting ahead of myself because I'm a little excited. Adverse childhood experiences. So we're going to be doing a documentary on that. I'll be hosting that, and it'll come out in podcast form, documentary form, and book form. So look out for that. I'm going to be promoting that pretty soon, and I'm grateful that I was chosen, and it's only because of you guys, the viewers. Keep sharing, keep liking this, keep subscribing. Let everybody know that Talking Junk is the only podcast that has the balls to do live episodes. Come check us out every Friday night. Nothing is going to change. We're going to be here forever. We love you. Peace out.